And of course, this isn't the first time our country has been forced to show its resolve in the face of danger. So in light of today's mounting terrorist threats, how have presidents in the past rallied the public during tough times? Let's take a closer look back through history. Joining us now, Jane Hampton Cook, who's a presidential historian. Welcome. Nice to have you here on the program on this 4th of July.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's very interesting, certainly, when we talk about presidents through the course of our nation's history in the 239 years of independence. Leaders have had to show the public that this country remains strong, it remains vigilant, and it's the job of the president to make sure that he or she is there to comfort its citizens and to show resolve in times of crises. I know this is something that you write about extensively, and when you take a look at history, beginning, for example, with James Madison, for example, when the White House was set ablaze, he went directly to speak to the public to say this is a time to stay calm and not freak out, essentially.
That's right. I have a book coming out in 2016 about the burning of the White House and the Capitol in 1814. And James Madison was president, and after the British military burned our White House and Capitol, he issued a message to the American people, and he said, look, this is just a temporary interruption, not a permanent one. We are a strong country. And he called men and women to action. And 3 weeks later, the 15,000 people in Baltimore expelled the British military from the East Coast once and for all. That's when we had got our Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem, the music, the song. And so we have, and it's because of presidential leadership offering reassurances during times of difficulty that, you know, we are a strong country.
Absolutely, and that reassurance so important, particularly in 1941 after the attack on Pearl Harbor, when Franklin Roosevelt played a pivotal role in rallying this nation to understand what the stakes were at the time and how important America's role was to preserving peace and democracy around the globe.
That's right. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Winston Churchill came over from England, and he and Franklin Roosevelt, our president, came together and they showed unity and an alliance. And Roosevelt had been planning for months and knowing that we were probably going to have to get into World War II. But they together stood on the balcony of the White House and they lit the national Christmas tree at a time of peace. But it's that alliance with other countries that's really important. Our friendship with other nations is important during difficult times.
Well, we're taking a look right now, Franklin Roosevelt there addressing Congress at that time in December 41, after the attack on Pearl Harbor. You know, when you talk about the American psyche, America really looks to its presidents for that assurance, for that sense of urgency at a time when so many people may be fearful. And one of the things, of course, that Roosevelt says that's very famous now, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
That's right. And you know what I think is encouraging about what we're seeing today is the fact that we are being vigilant. I mean, the fact that we do have law enforcement on high alert, that's a good thing. And that should give us a lot of comfort. You know, the color blue on our flag, it means vigilance. The Continental Congress in 1782 defined blue in our flag as vigilance. And that's what we're doing. We're being watchful over our country. And that's an encouraging thing and something, you know, we can take comfort in.
And in our recent history, of course, the tragedy of 9/11, when George Bush showed up at Ground Zero, there is an iconic moment there when he is standing with the first responders and telling them that this is not going to be the last word, that the nation hears you, that we hear you, and that they're going to go after the perpetrators who committed this heinous crime. That was a moment that so many people really looked at as a turning point and something that offered Americans a great deal of comfort and also a sense of resolve.
That's right. And, you know, sometimes it's those impromptu, spur of the moment, emotional moments that aren't scripted, that aren't rehearsed, that really stick with us and encourage and inspire and comfort us during those difficult times. And certainly George W. Bush did that in that moment. And my sons had an opportunity to meet that firefighter a few years ago, and he saw my little boys and all these adults were trying to get in front of him, and he said, no, I want the kids to come. And he had my kids come over and get their picture taken with him. So just that that gentle spirit that that firefighter had and that courage was embodied that day.
Absolutely. No, I've interviewed that gentleman too, and he certainly represents the best of what America has to offer through its people and through the folks who really are at the core of what this nation represents. And this is a great country, as we all know, and it's wonderful having you here on this very special day on July 4th as we celebrate America's independence. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and happy Independence Day.
You too.